What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 3 of Sideline Specialists with your host, myself, Alex Fishbein. We got Tom Deasy. We're talking
Let's go.
all sorts of things, NFL, March Madness. We'll probably throw some other things in there when we think of it because we always think of random things. But there's been a lot of news in terms of wide receivers, both good news, bad news, mixed news. We're going to be talking some NFC, AFC West previews. We will be giving updates on the final four of both the women's and the men's side of March Madness. And like I said, just random things thrown in there. So without further ado, I think we'll get on the news that has been the freshest on everyone's minds.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Stefon Diggs.
Yeah.
My guy, Stefon Diggs. I mean, I don't even want to say my guy. I'm not like a huge Bills fan or even just a huge Stefon Diggs fan. He's helped me win a couple different fantasy leagues before.
Fair.
One of my favorite ones is when I had Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs on the same team. So that was very nice.
That's always the way to do it, though.
Exactly. Get that stack going, and then it just you rake in the points. But traded to Houston, of all places, which, I mean, a great destination.
At this point, fantastic destination. But I'm like, I'm surprised at Buffalo, like their willingness to move him within the conference. And I know it's not the same as like, they traded him to like New England, and you'd be like, what the fuck are they doing? But Houston just like absolutely like best story of the NFL last year. Like their predictions, their like ceiling was low by everybody, and they broke through that ceiling so quickly, and you were waiting for it to look like a fluke, and it just wasn't. And then you add Joe Mixon first, who has the third most scrimmage TDs since 2022. And then on top of that, you're like, let's bring in a true number one to not only like help the young guys they already had get better, but then Stroud is just going to be like kid in a candy store right now. It's nuts.
To have a rookie quarterback play that well and now give him even more weapons, on top of the fact that the defense is going to get better.
Yeah.
Like they're probably going to invest some draft capital into the defense.
But that's why this move is so huge for them, right?
Exactly. And they had defensive rookie of the year, didn't they?
They hold on.
I think it was what's his name? That's a defensive lineman or a linebacker. I forget what he played.
Let's take a look. Yeah. Will Anderson Jr.
Yeah.
The edge boy.
So you had the offensive rookie of the year, the defensive rookie of the year. You bring in Stefon Diggs and Mixon, like you said. You re-sign Schultz.
Yeah.
Like
you have full years now with this coaching staff, and none of them are gone because they proved right away it was like, oh yeah, 100%. And then like the chemistry across the board for them is just like, oh. They're going to be nuts. Like I think they're going to get underappreciated again going into the season, and that I think they could run away with that division. Like run away with it.
Oh yeah,
like, Tennessee's not going to do much of anything, I don't think, until they figure out the QB situation. And then you have Jacksonville, which last year was supposed to be a good year for them. It really wasn't. And they only got worse at receiver now. So that's brutal. And then Indianapolis is just like, Indy is the same. They have the same like potential.
Right.
In that if Anthony Richardson can be like the guy, and he showed a lot of flashes of it. Like the dude's skill set is great, but we have to see it. So I think so far, like free agency wise, this period, since we started this, and a little before it, obviously, Houston's like clearly winning at this.
Oh, yeah.
Because like they haven't done like a million things, but what they have done is just like obvious jump off the page, helps the team. So
Yep, and it's like the Colts to me too is just like, even say Anthony Richardson does stay healthy, you still, now it's like a full season of incorporating Anthony Richardson into everything,
Yeah.
because he only played a couple games last year.
Yeah. But
So
it was nice that he got to play behind Minshew.
right,
Like, you know what I mean? Just because he is a good mentor.
for sure.
And he plays with I know he's like, his size and everything would tell you, oh, he doesn't play with a similar style. He likes being aggressive, and at least Richardson can take from that.
Right.
And obviously, like, you know, like, Peyton would have been on the phone with him and just being like, you'll be fine. So he'll have the right mentors, but it's just, yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, like, going back to Houston, I mean, yes, the receiving core is pretty young. Like, you have Nico Collins and Tank Dell along with Stefon Diggs. And then after them, you still have Robert Woods.
Yeah.
And then, like, Noah Brown actually put in some very good games for them last year. And
huge games.
You still have younger guys in John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson. Like,
well, John Mechie's the one everyone's going to look at, and like, they're going to forget him because he was hurt his whole rookie year.
Right.
That dude, like, I mean, I'm going to refresh myself to be exactly positive. He was drafted. What I got to find what pick he was taken at, because like,
yeah,
he was a second round pick. So you have a second round Alabama receiver that you've just had like stashed because of. But it's the same story with like the Lions, right? Like, you got to see Jamison Williams play a little bit this year, and he just got better and better. There's no reason at all in that offense that Mechie can't do the same thing.
Right.
And become like an insane slot weapon at like minimum. Like, I'm very curious to see where that.
I mean, in his last year in college, he was second team All SEC. And he caught 96 balls for 1,142 yards and 8 touchdowns with an 11.9 yards per reception, along with running a 4.36 40.
Dude's a stud. Absolute stud.
Like,
they are loaded. Like, it's very rare that a team 2 years ago, like, cellar dweller, horrible coaching, horrible like roster decisions, everything, they clean house. New staff comes in, and every single thing they've done has hit. Everything. Like, they have no misses right now. It's just like, what is going on? But I like to see it because it's the same. We talked about this before. It's like, it is so nice to have new blood.
Yep.
Contending. Like the Lions being in the championship game, and they should have won.
Yeah.
Like, watching that game, they were up 24-10, and they gave it away. Like, that, it's so nice because I think Houston can be 100% a contender now, especially given just kind of like the landscape. So, super pumped for that.
I mean, especially like as a Ravens fan in this past postseason, I was worried that they were going to lose to the Texans in the first round. Well, yeah. Technically second round, but
yeah, well, because you guys had a bye, but yeah.
But yeah, like, I was worried about it because they were looking good even without the changes they made. So now that you give the coaching staff another year under their belt, Stroud another year under his belt, more weapons, people getting healthy, like, it's all scary.
It's horrifying.
But my thing is, I'm trying to figure out what the Bills are doing. They lost a whole bunch of guys on defense. They lose Stefon Diggs. They lose Gabe Davis. Is it just going to be like 2 tight end sets where Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid just catch everything?
I mean, like, for them, obviously, we'll do like a full in-depth when we get to the Easts, because like, they're gonna need one. You know what I mean? Like, that's because it's such a strange feeling to me, because it's like you're basically opening the door really wide for it to be a like Jets Dolphins division at least this year. Like, if Rodgers stays healthy, if Tua stays healthy, I don't see how the Bills keep up.
Right.
I just don't. I know Allen is like he can make special plays, but if he has no one to throw the ball to, like, it's very weird that you would already lose Gabe Davis and then turn around and immediately trade Stefon Diggs too.
Especially when not get anyone in return.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm sitting here. I'm like, okay, you got a second round pick. I think we can guess what that's going to be used for.
Right.
Like, I mean, if they don't take one in the first, yeah. So I think it makes the Bills draft like outlook pretty obvious for the early stuff. I think, but
true. Yeah. But even then, by the time you get to the second round, a lot of those top names, like you and I were talking about it when we were talking about our mock drafts in the last episode, a lot of those top names are going to be way gone by then.
Yeah.
And so when you get down there, it's more of like the dart. I don't want to say exactly dart throw because usually second round picks are usually still pretty good, but they're not Stefon Diggs.
Well, I'm going to, you know what, based on that comment, I'm going to pull the exact reason why this is a gamble because the Eagles have had second round wide receiver picks. We took fucking Juju Smith-Schuster right before DK Metcalf. So it's like you really do need to do your homework. And I know the Bills do know at this point. They didn't used to know how to draft a receiver to save their ass. But like I think they could find a guy that could slot right in and be like very productive, but
right.
It's like, such a coin flip.
And like, I mean, obviously the Ravens aren't known for drafting wide receivers, but they've had first round draft pick wide receivers that have turned into pretty much nothing. I mean, most recently being Rashad Bateman, other than Zay Flowers, which obviously has been a very solid pick so far.
But he's the first one in a long time. And that's the whole thing. It's like it is a gamble, and this year, like obviously, with the amount of receivers that are going to go first round, we will see who picks right and who picks wrong this year. And some of the receivers, it won't be on them. Like the Giants are going to take a receiver. I think his numbers will be underwhelming because they have Daniel Jones. Like that's where they're at, and their run game is significantly worse now. Whether they want to own that or not, still, it's whoever they take is not going to look the way you would think he would look for where he's taken. And there'll be other guys like if Marvin Harrison Jr. goes to the Cardinals, obviously he will put up less numbers than he would if he went to a team that had an established O-line and everything to protect the QB. So like. It's all grain of salt stuff. Like you got to just kind of sit there and breathe and be like, look, we need the rest of the team to come together, and then we will see these guys perform.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, and just real quick, like looking through some of Buffalo's like draft history with wide receivers. Now, some of these are like very low round. Like just the past draft, they drafted Justin Shorter in the 5th round. He hasn't played at all. I don't know if he's even on the team still. Khalil Shakir was in the 5th round 2 years ago, which he's been all right. He like not terrible, but not
but it's like what you want from a 5th. Yeah.
Right. They took Gabe Davis in the 4th round in 2020. So that's probably been their best wide receiver pick like since then.
Yeah.
But then before him, they haven't taken a wide receiver really that high except for 2017 they took Zay Jones in the 2nd round.
And that was a big miss.
Yeah. He's not even on the team. So,
no, he ended up on the Raiders, and then I don't even know if he's
on Jacksonville now.
Yeah, but that's like, to be 2017 draft pick, and I think he's on his like 4th team, it's like, and you were a 2nd rounder, like you're the kind of guy, like they're taking you in the 2nd because they want you to be someone for a while. And clearly, big miss. Yeah. So. And
you go through like Sammy Watkins in the 1st round in 2014. Miss.
He was
first round.
He was okay for like 2 years, and then it was injuries, and then it was just like he could not play to the same level because now he's been on like Green Bay, Baltimore, Kansas City, retired now. I think literally retired. I think, but
been everywhere.
Yeah, which to be fair, it was 2014. It's 10 years, so he probably is okay to fully retire now. So
true. So then you get down to finally 2013. They drafted Robert Woods in the second round, which has been their best wide receiver draft pick.
Because if you look at Robert Woods, everywhere he's been, he has been a guy that you're happy to have.
Right.
Like, he was good on Tennessee for their 2 years where they were like number one in the AFC record wise. He was good on the Rams. Like, I mean, yeah, because he was on that Super Bowl team, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
So like, he's a very solid player, and I think 2012 they took Stevie Johnson pretty early, if I recall. Or was that 2010?
Yeah, that was.
It was close to one of those, just either 10 or 12, I think.
Somewhere around there.
Actually, it might even be older than that. It might be 09.
But
that's like the only one before Woods too.
2008 they drafted him, yeah.
Yeah, but he was like that. That's another gap for them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he was actually pretty serviceable for a while, and they had they had Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like,
true. And just like that same draft, they drafted Marquise Goodwin in the third round. Who is still around, but like nothing to write home about. But to compare, like to see how like much of a miss Sammy Watkins was. Watkins was the 4th pick overall.
Yeah, no, they literally thought he was the next coming of Christ. Like,
exactly. And Robert Woods, only 1 year older, has 300 more receptions, 3,000 more yards, and 4 more receiving touchdowns.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look great for them.
No, Sammy, his rookie and like second season, jumped off the screen. Like he looked like the dude. It looked like, oh, they did it, and then he got hurt, and it was like he after the injury he was never the same, and then he just like couldn't keep his weight off. Like he just got big.
True.
So
yeah. So we'll definitely go into Buffalo more when we get to that division. So let's move on to not good news. Rashee Rice. So obviously in a lot of trouble right now. We're just going to put the disclaimer that everything is alleged because the law.
Well, ESPN has a post today. Or from maybe whenever this got updated, but it says Rashee Rice was in fact driving the Lamborghini at the time.
Well,
so
definitely not great.
Nope. Because it was at first it was cloudy. It was like no one knew who was driving the car. They knew it was leased under his name. So it was, if it was anybody but him driving, he's going to get in trouble for that because it's his money paying for the vehicle to even be on the road right now. But now it's his own lawyer saying he's in there, which we'll see if that's true. Because obviously they're going to strategically try and shape this to give him the least legal penalty because
for sure.
Why just be honest? But either way, not good. And for a young guy who's literally just trying to establish his feet in this league, and I know he had a great rookie season, but you need to. It's not even about that. It's like you need to fit in so that you have staying power and you're not going to lose your spot because of things like this. And obviously, it was his car and then a Corvette or something were racing each other. I think the Lambo literally hit the wall and that's where it ricocheted into other cars and caused this big accident, 6 cars and some injuries. Luckily, no fatalities. Because if there were fatalities in this, his career's over.
Oh, yeah, he'd be in jail just like Ruggs.
Yeah, it would be the same thing without the alcohol, unless they've already said there's alcohol, but I don't think there was. That's why this is so crazy.
Suspicion of it at first. I remember seeing a
which there would be,
but I don't remember seeing any other reports saying that he was.
Yeah. So, but even then, it's you had a clear head. You had no inebriation, no intoxication, whatever, and you were making these decisions. That scares me even more, honestly, because you can't be you cannot be doing this.
Right.
And even reading stuff his lawyer or whatever saying oh, he's a young man that made a mistake. It's there's mistakes and then there's decisions that put other people's lives at risk, and you can't have that, like, that mindset being anywhere in your head is something the Chiefs are now going to really look at, and the NFL's obviously, like, he's going to get suspended. I cannot imagine that he's not going to get suspended in some way. Like, it's inevitable, and it's a shame because you hate seeing young players kind of do this shit.
Right.
But it's like, the law's the law, and then obviously, like, there's rules and everything with the leagues. So, like, whatever happens to him now, it's like you did this to yourself.
Right.
So,
especially, like, I feel as though he probably would have been given a little more benefit of the doubt if he didn't hit and run. If he actually just, checked on the other drivers, made sure people were good. I understand. The thing is, like, especially as, like, a younger person, like, we've all done stupid shit when we're young.
Yeah.
But so I understand the quick thought of, like, oh shit, I did something bad. I need to get out of here. Like, I get that part of things. However, as somebody that is in the spotlight of being a professional athlete, especially in the NFL, you probably have been told by plenty of veterans that, there's a spotlight on you. You have to make sure you do X, Y, Z, and, put yourself in the best light possible. The fact that, the hit and run came, that's probably also why people were suspicious of a DUI, because if you're not drunk, usually you're like, oh crap.
Especially like, how fast you were going. Like, if you hit another car, like, that's gonna, like, there's instantly right there, whatever the first car you contacted, like, they might not be alive. And that's why it pisses me off. It's like, I know you're young, adrenaline, everything, like, you at that age, that as soon as adrenaline gets pumping, you don't really have the, like, wherewithal / maturity. No one really does, unless they've had traumatic early life experiences, to then go, like, okay, I need to responsibly, like, stop.
Right.
But you should never put yourself in that situation in the first place. Like, if you want to drive a car fast, go to a track. You have the money to rent a track. Like, just go do that.
Right.
No excuses.
You're an NFL player. Like, that affords you many special opportunities that other people can't.
Yeah.
You can easily ask a track, like, hey, can we, like, bring these cars and race them? And the track would probably be like, sure, if you make a post about our track, we'll let you.
Yeah. So, like, but it's all these things he could have done differently. But to do this on, like, a public highway with another car, endangering other people, and, like, and past endangerment, like, people got hurt. So it's like,
right.
It's just, there's kind of, like, there's kind of no getting around it. Like, it doesn't even matter how it, like, turns out. Like, he should pay for all the damage.
Oh yeah,
100%. And, like, if he doesn't, that's horseshit. We probably won't hear about it, but that needs to happen. Any medical bills, because you don't know who doesn't have insurance, and this country's a joke as far as that. Like, that needs to be covered. Yeah. And then obviously, like, punitive damage is, like, the extra shit, because, like, do all that as a first step. Like, just do that. Don't do it for praise or, like, that's what you're responsible for now, and make sure we hear about it, because, like, that'll give me a little bit of a tick. Like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, I'll look at him and be like, all right, you did your job because you caused this. Fix it as much as you can, and then whatever punishment is laid upon you, just take it on the chin. Exactly. Just take it. Don't complain, because you got to just own up to this, and it'll make him a better person. And if he still has the shot to play, you know what I mean? I would expect that he would not mess up again. So
exactly. And that the issue lies in, if it happens again, then every team is like,
but that's what
giving you a third chance.
This is one of those, like, offenses that's like, once, if it happens again, like, it's completely over. Like, the book's closed on your career. Like, that's it. So
right, exactly. So with that being said, do you want to talk March Madness first, or do you want to get into the previews?
I was just going to go right into random news.
Okay, that works too.
because that was included in it, was the March Madness stuff. Um, so both Iowa games.
Yep.
Woo!
Yeah.
That was some television. Holy smokes. I mean, what was the peak viewers on the LSU game? Like 13 million? Something like that. That game was
ever for a woman's sport, I think, in general.
Yeah. And it deserved it because that game was absolutely nuts. Caitlyn Clark with like 41, like 7 and 12 or 9 and 12, like just insane numbers for a tournament game. Men's or women's, doesn't matter. Off the scale. And then the UConn Iowa game yesterday, she took more of a backseat. Their center, Smelty, is that her name?
Smelty, something like that.
Skelty. It's like something. It's like S and a letter and then UELTE.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, she needed to be the star of that game.
Oh yeah.
Like Caitlyn was just getting D'd out of her ass. Made some insane shots still because she is that girl. But her passing was put more on display. Their court movement is what got them the win in the end because their second half adjustments were just like exactly what they needed.
I just hate that it ended the way it did.
I do too.
The offensive foul call was so bogus.
It was so soft.
Yeah.
And in that, because 4 seconds on the clock to send a team to the final.
Exactly.
You can't call that.
Because there was in the beginning of the quarter or anywhere else throughout the game, I'd be like, I'd still say it's not a foul. However, I'd be like, okay.
The impact on the result. There's no guarantee they're going to score. Let's just say that, right? But at the same time, they should not have had that opportunity taken away on something like that. But then even the UConn has been very classy about it. I will fully commend them for that too, because their post games, they were like, that's not the reason we lost, because they were kind of like, we had the lead at half, and we just didn't keep the lead, and we let them get so far ahead that we were trying to chase. And the clock was just kind of fighting them. So it's I can see both sides, but at the same time, it's we could have had OT in a Final Four game.
Right.
And, that would have, broken the internet. Especially being, Becker's versus Clark.
Exactly.
It's just... And I no discredit at all to the other... all the women on that floor last night played their asses off.
Oh, yeah. Every single woman on that court was... amazing. The whole game was amazing. The coaching from both teams was amazing. Literally, the only bad thing I have to say about that game is that one call. And it's true, especially from a coaching point of view, my wife says it a lot too, because we used to coach volleyball together and she used to coach well before I even started coaching. But she would always say, you never lose a game by, one call, because what happened the other 40 minutes? What happened the other 100 minutes? And it's true. UConn did not lose because of that one call, but obviously it's a big impact. And the thing that made me kind of annoyed is the fact that I see the Golden State Warriors set that screen 500 times a game. That same exact screen, Draymond Green, the one who gets thrown out of games for setting screens the wrong way, sets that screen 500 times a game and does not get an offensive foul call. So, just seeing that get called, and I saw people in the comments and everything it's a moving screen, it's illegal. I'm like, she really wasn't moving though.
And she barely nudged her. It was if she was say the body contact was more,
right?
It was the tip of her elbow, and she sold the shit out of it. It was
her head back.
Yeah, and then does that walk into the fucking stands screaming shit like she did something that's where I got so fucking mad. Was she pointed and pointed oh, it was an offensive foul, and then walks over doing all this shit you didn't do anything. You got bumped barely. Relax.
Right. And that's the thing is I know people will talk about like, oh, double standard because like I'm a Joel Embiid fan. However, I hate when Joel Embiid flops. I hate it.
Oh,
Like
hate it. We're
I'm
not
right
like
there with everybody.
it's one of those like I look at Joel and I'm like, you have the skill set to probably not need to do that, but he's just intelligent and he knows the way the game is today, so he's going to use that to try and win.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, like, and it's easier for him to sell because he's fucking humongous.
Exactly.
Like, so, and he knows it. So he's a good free throw shooter. So why would he not want to score points?
Right.
Like that's just that today's NBA allows that. If someday it does not, I'm sure we will see his game change because he's not unadaptable. Like it's
and that's a big reason why his playoff performances change, because sometimes he gets a little too caught up in trying to flop, and in the playoffs they don't call it. But without trying to go too far on the sidebar, I don't fault I forget her name. I don't fault the girl from Iowa like trying to do that and getting
Gabby Marshall.
Yes, Gabby Marshall. I don't fault her for trying to do that because it worked and they won the game.
Yeah.
However, don't celebrate, yell in the crowd and everything as if you made some diving steal play and all that kind of stuff. Like, take that play, celebrate with your teammates, and take the ball and celebrate that you're going to the finals. Because
here's why
corny to me.
Here's why it bothered me. Like if it was any of the other starters,
right, I
could be like, okay, you've done minus like their other guard. Like it's Stelky. I looked it up.
Oh,
so she was 9 of 12, 5 of 7 from the line, 23 points. She led, I think, the game in scoring. Yeah. So hats off, right? And then you have Clark, 7 of 18. She's obviously going to shoot the most, 21 points. What's this girl's name? Kate. That's right. Kate Martin, clutch in the end. Like had that one drive where she did like a fucking Euro step back and nailed it, and I was like, woo! But then you look at Marshall. It's like you were 2 of 9 with one for 7 from 3-point range. And one of your makes, you were standing right on the 3-point line because you couldn't watch your feet. Like, dude, like it could have been a 3-point game if you knew where your feet were. Like, just please. Yeah. I understand the energy, the emotion. Like, that's a huge moment. Like, you know what that means for your team, but like, you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
That was basketball related. You really didn't. Like, it was just a normal rotation. Your teammate picked somebody into you barely. Like, it irked me. I agree. But here's the honest truth. I don't think it matters because I think South Carolina is gonna. It didn't matter who they were gonna play. I think South Carolina is gonna fucking clean up, dude.
Oh, dude, South Carolina just looks unstoppable. Like, I mean, what has their closest game been?
I don't know, but I just look at their record and I'm like, bruv. Indiana.
They had 4 points from Indiana. That's the only game in the tournament so far that has been a single-digit difference.
Yeah. And I'll look at the regular season too, like a 9-point game against Utah.
Right.
And that, like, the other ranked opponents they played, like Notre Dame, they beat them by 29. Maryland, they beat them by 38.
Yeah.
LSU put a good game against them, which obviously LSU is like, they are a top team, so we would expect a good fight there.
They beat UConn by 18.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking at. I'm like, that was a team they could play in the freaking championship game, and they smoked them.
Right.
Like, it's just, I think it's no contest. I really do.
And it's funny to me, too, because South Carolina's undefeated. They aren't being talked about that much. Obviously, everyone's talking about Caitlyn Clark, like for good reason. For good reason. Yeah. Then everyone was talking about, after her, it was LSU. After LSU, it was UConn because of Paige Beckers. And then after that, then South Carolina, who's undefeated?
I don't want to pull, like, I mean, like, Angel Reese is Angel Reese, right? But outside of her, no one is, it's all the white girls.
Well, Flaw J. Johnson is
up.
But
I look at South Carolina, I'm like, you've had you have the GOAT coach, the GOAT, in Dawn Staley. She is like, you won 2 Player of the Years as a player, and now you've won 4 Coach of the Years in 5 seasons. Bro, they have a machine, and that's why I'm looking at this. I'm like, I love what Iowa's been able to do. I love that women's sports in general have been like getting this huge elevation because of like the women's basketball game in college.
Right.
But South Carolina knows like how to just build a team. They don't need to have that one. They don't need to have like 1 or 2 players that literally get talked about every day in the media. They don't. That like Staley's coaching style is, we are a team. We are going to win as a team, period. If you have a great game, awesome. But keep your ego in check. And like they are, I cannot see Iowa beating them. I just can't.
I can't either. Because, like, I was just about to make a comment when I was looking at the box score of Iowa UConn. Both teams looked like they were being coached by Tom Thibodeau because the starters were all 36 minutes and above. And they barely played any bench players. UConn played one bench player.
One bench player for, like, no minutes, right?
Yeah.
Literally?
And Iowa played 2. The third one, I guess, came in for like 30 seconds because it said she had 0 minutes, but technically she got on the court. But South Carolina in the game against NC State played 4 bench players who all got 16 minutes or more. And their starting forward, Chloe Kitts, she only played 11 minutes.
Yeah.
And their best player in Cardoso played 23. And they still won by almost 20.
Yeah.
But
I look at that and I'm like, that strategy may have been a good thing to do again.
Yes.
Like,
and in the
you
third
didn't
quarter,
need to,
South Carolina outscored NC State 29-6.
Yikes.
And that was after South Carolina was only up by 1 at halftime.
Yeah.
So, like, the team, and, what's her name? Ashlyn Watkins came off the bench and grabbed 20 rebounds. Off the bench.
Bro.
Like, what?
Holy shit. That's,
like,
but I'm looking at that. I'm like, there's just, like, statistic, even just looking at numbers, you're like, this game is over.
Right.
It's like they will out-rebound you, they will outscore you, like, they'll out-muscle you, because Iowa is a
top defense too.
Iowa's a small team. Like, they have, like, they're, like, height-wise, they're not really huge, and even, like, physicality, like, that's just, It's been a great run, but this game, I think, is going to be a little rough, but...
Yeah. And, like, South Carolina's defense, like, they forced NC State to shoot 32% from the floor, and from 3, NC State shot 6 for 23. Compared to 50% shooting from the floor by South Carolina, and 42%, 8 for 19 from 3. So...
E.T.'s ogre.
And I'll leave it at, I saw a stat that Dawn Staley only has 3 losses in the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like,
but
the men's is. I mean, can we predict anything other than Purdue, UConn?
NC State, I think, has a solid chance to beat Purdue. I don't think Alabama. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think the Alabama UConn game is going to be all that close.
I don't either. The thing with NC State is how they've been playing, right?
Right.
And it's all going to be about big man versus big man.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I mean, but the height difference is what's, like, concerning. Because it's like, I want to see... Let me remind myself of Homeboy's name here. He's probably marked as
on the NC State side, DJ Burns.
Yeah. Like, he's 6'9".
Right.
And thick.
Yeah, he's 275.
Yeah, he's like, you look at him and you're like Zion, but slower.
Right.
But
Zion with a traditional center.
Yeah. But just the thickness. And then you look at Edie and he's 7'4". You're like, that's a matchup disaster.
DJ Burns to me is very Zebo-like.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. And that, yeah. 100%.
I like that type of player. And like he still has a little finesse in there, even though he's so big and strong.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been hating on NC State just because they're mainly the reason Pitt didn't get to the tournament, but they're a very good team. I mean,
at least like, I'll say this, sorry, but like at least, although Pitt didn't make it because of all this shit, at least NC State has been like, they didn't just go one and done, and you're like, what the hell? Right. They're making a run of this, so it's like, okay, they at this point, Final Four, they deserve to be here.
Exactly.
But it's, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And like, I'm glad at least the ACC shut a lot of people up when they said like, oh, this is a bad year for the ACC. Like,
yeah,
NC State as an 11 seed is in the Final Four, and NC State was in the bottom half of the ACC standings before they even won the ACC tournament. Like they were underneath like Florida State, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Clemson. It's ridiculous. But I think that will easily be the more entertaining game of the men's Final Four, because
I agree.
A lot of people are big on I shouldn't say a lot of people. Actually, a lot of people are very 50-50 on Edey because they don't think he's going to translate that well to the NBA, especially because like the traditional center isn't that big in the NBA anymore. Like the centers in the NBA, either you got to do everything like Jokic and Embiid and Sabonis, or you have to be a ridiculously good defender that can also stretch the floor a little bit in terms of like Miles Turner or Brook Lopez or, people of that ilk. But
he needs to work on his ability to distribute the rock.
Yes.
That's his main thing, because he can score and he can get you boards, because he does use his size well.
Right.
Because he has tremendous size. Like, that is a gift as an athlete. And I mean, is this tournament or is this year?
What, his stats?
His 3-point percentage on ESPN is 50%. Like,
for the year. Yeah, I see that too.
So I'm like, you have these things, right? So he can translate his game if he just trains with the right people.
He's only attempted 2 threes all year.
But like, okay, that's good to know. But like, at least he made one.
Right.
Because that could just say 0, and you'd be like, oh, we're hopeless, we're doomed.
True.
But like, he can easily just practice and train with the right people and kind of develop a sense of that, because he can see the whole damn floor.
Right.
That, like, and he needs to just do that. It's not a case of, add this. You need to do that so that you are marketable, and teams want you as like a face of their franchise. But I think that's fully within the realm of possibility. So,
right.
And he's Canadian, right? Which is like,
I think so. Yeah, he's from Toronto.
Yeah, so like just make it happen for Canada. Canada wants it.
It's kind of crazy to me that DJ Burns is only like 5 or 10 pounds lighter than Zach Edey. Edey's listed at 300 and 7'4".
Yeah, like that's a 7-inch height difference. You would think the weight would be like insanely different, but then you look at Burns, you're like, all right,
that's a bit.
It is distributed differently. We got it.
Right. The good thing in Edey's favor is that at least he has been improving substantially each year. Like, I mean, his freshman year, he only started 2 games, only played around 14 minutes a game. So he's only putting up like 8 points, 4 rebounds. But then that grew to 14 and 7 with 1 assist, 1 block. Then it grew to 22 points and almost 13 rebounds with 1.5 assists, 2.1 blocks. And then this year in his senior season, started all 37 games, 31 minutes a game, shoots 62% from the floor. And his free throws aren't bad. 71% on 11.5 attempts a game is very, very good.
And that's something, again, that like just with practice or maybe even a different motion, you can easily improve that.
Right. Because take the comparison to Giannis. Giannis shoots around 11 to 12 free throws a game and shoots like 60 to 50% from his free throws.
Yeah,
so,
but he's the perfect analogy for how to not shoot free throws.
Exactly.
Like, so don't do what Giannis does and have the longest eternity free throws ever, and be bricking like 2 out of 5. Like,
I forget what game it was. It was recent, like either last week or the week before. He got called for taking too long, like 3 times in one game. I was like, finally, someone's calling it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'd have a stopwatch out on his ass every single time. It's like,
oh hell yeah, same.
Come on, dude.
Edey has at least been growing. He's been getting better. I don't think he's going to be a lottery pick. I mean, I'm probably going to be wrong on that. I should frame it this way. I don't think he's going to be worth a lottery pick.
Okay. That's yeah.
He probably will be, but I don't think he's going to be worth it because I feel as though I see him more as a solid backup center in the NBA, more so than a starting star center.
Yeah. But it's like that could change.
True.
But yeah, odds are I would say it won't. But like we can't predict that. Like we have to see like what his off season is like after this ends, like who he's going to get in the gym with, like it all his decisions from now until that like matter enormously. And I see exactly. I would say he'll go like logically top 20.
Right.
But
that would make sense.
But I would say the 15 to 20 range based on what he is right now is probably where he should go.
Right.
But again, it's just about what team is on the clock and what they value and who's been taken before, because sometimes you're that team that just gets kind of screwed over and all the dudes you were thinking about are gone and you go, all right, you start looking for a project. So
yeah, and it's like it's always so hard to judge, I feel like, centers the most, because you're like,
yeah,
you see that they're slow. I mean, Embiid even looked pretty slow at Kansas, and he was out in his first 2 years of his NBA career, so you had no idea what Embiid was going to look like.
Well, that's it. That's, as Sixers fans, it was fucking brutal, because it's like, how many injuries did we need to go through before him? Exactly. And he was always hurt too. So you're like, we don't know what this team is. We have this whole trust the process motto, and we don't even know what we're trusting because all these dudes don't play.
Right.
And then you finally saw him, and you're like, okay.
And you're like, I really hope Embiid's worth it, because we had to sit through Noel and then Okafor.
Oh my god, dude!
You're seeing
fucking
all these centers that just didn't turn out at all.
Well, I looked at Noel. I'm like, dude, at best you should be playing like, your size tells me you're a small forward, and you don't have that skill set. Like, just what? Why, bro?
And if Okafor was like, if he entered the NBA 10 years prior, we would probably be talking about Okafor as like one of the best centers in the league. His game was so good for the old style of NBA.
Yeah.
But
he came in the wrong time.
Yeah.
Because it's all he's horrible. It's like he was horrible for what the game became.
Right.
And it's a shame, but like that's just kind of how it goes, especially in the NBA too, because you look at other drafts, there's 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Like it's like 60 picks, and then it's just chalked, and that's it. And then it's about like G League signings, or if you want to go the undrafted route and maybe find somebody, because Freddie Van Fleet, right? He's the highest paid undrafted ever.
Yep.
But that, like, if that's your ceiling for undrafted. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, he's good, but you don't find Hall of Fame caliber talent unless you get really lucky with like a Jokic pick in the second. With the fucking Taco Bell commercial on, or whatever it was. So you're like, damn. But
and that's the thing, is the thing that makes the NBA so different in terms of just in comparison to other leagues is like, there are NBA teams that don't make a single draft pick in a year.
Yep.
Where that's unheard of in every other league.
Oh yeah. Like the MLB is like 18 rounds long.
Right.
because you have to fill out all the minor league teams. Like it's such a whole different feeling and mindset as a drafter in the NBA. Like if you have picks, you have to nail them. It doesn't matter where they are. Like you have to absolutely nail them. And if you don't, it's super obvious immediately. Like instantaneously, because the rosters are small too. Like you're gonna have playoffs are different. You might have 8, 9 guys on the bench available, but 4 of them will play.
Yep.
So, and especially in the regular season, they're not going to even go. I mean, they might go deep when you're up 1 million, but you have to be you have to jump off the page and jump off the screen. You have to have something in your bag that makes it worth it for your coach to actually put you in. And it's so hard to find that. But
for sure.
All right, I'm going to do... Sorry, if you were going to say anything else about
No,
basketball.
I was actually going to say if you had any other news topics.
I had
before.
I just had a literal 2-minute MLB.
Oh, yeah.
Because first week. So, records-wise, couple surprises. Some aren't really. Detroit, the Tigers were supposed to be a lot better this year. That division's soft, so they're 6-1. Happy for that city because, sports-wise, they're on a pretty nice upswing. The Red Wings weren't trash this year. The Lions obviously did great. Tigers being back, it's good for baseball. But in that division, the Guardians have the most runs scored in the entire American League right now, which I was like, huh?
Yeah.
And they're a plus 30 on differential. They've scored 50 and allowed 20. And I'm like, all right, I'll keep an eye. Red Sox tied for first. Little surprised, but we'll see. Obviously, they won 5 straight. The Braves being first, I don't think is surprising. But on the Braves note, Spencer Strider will undergo an MRI on Monday, and for his elbow. And if that is a serious injury, the Braves season is very, very much in trouble. Yeah. That is the number 1 pitcher in the National League.
Right.
Period. And it's not looking good either. He got pulled from that game and was in visible pain, and usually it was 100% his elbow, and that's why everybody's like, oh shit, because especially his style of pitching too. He just throws gas, so that's going to be tough. I hope, even as a Phillies fan, I will never in my life wish an injury upon somebody ever. I hope he's okay. Hope he gets to come back and compete. The other injuries I wrote down just as of note, Josh Jung for the Texas Rangers. Mm-hmm. Very promising young player, will be out 8 to 10 weeks, so that's a big loss for them. Luis Robert obviously was the AL home run king last year for the White Sox. They weren't going to do shit. They're really not going to do shit now. It's a hip injury, so that's one of those you can't timeline because the rehabs are wild for hip injuries.
Baseball's all hips.
Yeah, and he's a center fielder, so he is all hips. He needs to be able to burst in direct, side to side. Yeah. And then Trevor Story for the Red Sox hurt again because that is his story. So sad. But yeah, the first week's been really fun.
I wanted to get your quick opinion.
Go ahead.
You probably know where I'm going with this.
Oh boy. So all right, I'll take heat for this. I fucking love these.
And for those that might be listening to the audio version without the video, I brought up a picture of the Phillies City Connect uniforms because if you're not from Philly, these have gotten a lot of flack from Philly fans.
All right. So, let me dive into this, all right? So, Philadelphia is a place where criticism is easily thrown out with no justification whatsoever. And baseball is always touchy, and the whole idea of the City Connect uniforms is a very new thing. Because baseball was the one sport where jerseys were pretty sacred. They were one way or they weren't. your team had its colors, they had their home and away, and that was kind of it. And they've dabbled a little, like the Phillies in recent years. They have the cream colored day game jerseys. Love those because they're super classy. These I love for multiple reasons. So, one, they have little intricacies noting like the Liberty Bell cracks.
Yep, I think they have a thing about that. Hold on.
Oh, there's like a full So, the colors are the city's flag. The city of Philadelphia flag is these colors.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I did not know that.
Yeah, so that is literally like that's what makes these perfectly acceptable right off the bat. Is all the people who are going, oh, it has nothing to do with it. It literally is the flag of the city that this team is representing. So, colors, fine. I love the blue up here. Mm-hmm. That I mean, it says it up here, but like that's for the fact that Philadelphia is known as a blue collar city. That's what that is. So you have a jersey that is behind the flag, has a bunch of different designs. The font, I think, is based on something. Yeah, it's supposed to be like the documents, like literal, like old school documents.
Like the Declaration.
Yeah, like just all that stuff. Like that's what that's supposed to be an homage of, which it is. I like everything about it. Like a lot. Like I will 100% be buying probably a couple of these. Okay. Like 100%. I think it's perfect. And then to sit here and be like, it has nothing to do with anything. It's the same colors as the fucking Union, because the Union based their shit off the Philly flag. So it's like it's not like it's some crazy far-fetched thing. We literally have a professional sports team with these colors already. Like it fits.
So my first reaction was, this seems, no pun intended, way out of left field. Like I was like, this just seems so far away from the norm that I was like,
but most City Connect jerseys are, and that's
true.
And that's what I like about them. Is it like we have our classic colors, and you know what I mean? Like that will never, that probably won't go away. Obviously, we've made big changes before, but like this this fits to me. And then the other one too. Do you remember the Eagles' ancient jerseys? The ones they had, the 75th, the blue and gold.
Oh yeah.
That was the Eagles' original colors.
That's true.
And here they are again. Like it's just everything about it literally has a heritage or something that Philly's done in the past that they're pulling from. Yeah. So I get what you mean too, though.
Yeah, when they started like describing it and I started seeing more of it, it started to grow on me a little bit more. And to me too, when I finally like took these jerseys and removed them from my vision of the Phillies in terms of red and white pinstripe, cream color, you know, the baby blue with the maroon. When I removed that from all of that, instead of grouping it all into one, it made me appreciate them a little bit more. Yeah. And my favorite part of this is by far the hat. I love the hat.
With the hat is phenomenal.
Belt. I love the hat. Like I would definitely buy the hat.
Yeah.
But the jersey to me too, at first, like I didn't think of the Declaration of Independence type of font. I thought they were trying to go with like a tough font, like, oh, Philly's tough. And I'm like, Philly is tough, but I hate when I kind of hate when like not people, but like companies or brands or whatever try and like, you know, like toughen it up because Philly's tough. And it's like, it's kind of corny.
Yeah.
The whole blue collar thing, that's fine. But the font at first, I was like, yeah. But it definitely grew on me after a while. And my two favorite comments that I saw on the internet about this, though. One was on Threads. The guy's username is slipping me, but he said, "This is the most Philly because no one likes this. However, we don't care."
Yeah, but it like that fits perfectly. But I think like we decided to actually be bold with our City Connect.
Sure.
Because I looked at some of the other ones. The other ones were just like throwbacks of old jerseys they've already had with maybe like a different word on it. I'm like, I appreciate them. Some of them, like Seattle's, is great because their old uniforms were fire. But like, there's no reason you can't just be different.
Yeah. And I think it wouldn't have made sense if the Phillies just used a throwback, because I feel as though they use their throwbacks more often than the others do.
100%. Like, we've had the full maroons, like the last few years. We've had the full baby blues. Like, they're all available in our repertoire.
Exactly.
Like, we decided to just do something that was literally for Philadelphia. Like, it was actually all the things that make the jersey what it is came from the city, not sports necessarily. And you can see like the links to old sports jerseys though. It's still there.
No, that's true. And my other favorite comment was all we have to do is wait for another fan base to trash it, and then Philly will love it. Like Gritty.
Yeah. As soon as a Mets fan pipes up, I can just go, "You're 2-5. Calm down."
And we took your pitcher.
Yeah. You undervalued Zach Wheeler, and now he's been ripping your ass apart for 3 years. And he's going to do it for another 3. Enjoy. But, no, actually, I liked them the moment I saw them. Like, instant reaction was yes, because I could see... I noticed a couple of the things, like, instantly. I was like, okay, I know the colors. And then they showed the love patch, and I was like, okay. And then when they posted the detailed thing, and like you could see all the different little intricacies, like they really thought about it. They didn't just go, "Oh, here's the thing."
Right.
Like it was made with intention, which like if it's supposed to be City Connect, where the team is like connecting to the city that it's playing in,
that makes sense.
This one is so much more on point than a bunch of the other ones that I've seen.
It's not like the stupid ass Miami Heat City jerseys where they just wrote Heat culture on the jersey.
The Dodgers one just says Los Dodgers. It's a fucking blue jersey the same way their normal one is, and they just put Los. Like, I'm not, like, I wish I was kidding, but that's literally what it is. And then
the creative directors of the Dodgers were like, you know what? Let's make it Spanish.
Literally. But like, there are some really good ones, don't get me wrong. The White Sox one is great. It says Southside, perfect. And it's literally black with white pinstripes the whole way down. Like, it looks clean. The Cubs...
I love pinstripe jerseys. All the pinstripe jerseys I love.
The Cubs one is a mix of 3 different blues, says Wrigleyville, perfect. But my favorite one before... Well, okay, the one I hate the most, because I hate Houston anyway, but it says Space City. I know you have NASA.
Yeah.
I know you have NASA, but NASA does not want to be associated with cheaters. Okay, relax.
And the Rockets, the Rockets ones, like the court looked cool with the new Spaceman logo, but the jerseys were pretty basic. It just says H-Town.
The best designed one, but it still doesn't like fit the city is in my opinion Arizona's. They have a full it's like a tan all the way. Red numbers, black lettering, and it says Serpientes. And it's clean. It's very clean. Colorado's is nice too, but they're a dumpster fire of an organization.
I don't even remember the last time Colorado was relevant.
To
be honest,
2007 they made the World Series and got swept.
I do remember they got beat pretty quickly.
Bad. Yeah, Boston that year was like no one on earth was going to beat the Red Sox that year. So
yeah, and I remember the Phillies lost to the Rockies in the NLCS, right?
No, it was so we lost in the first round.
Oh, that's
and it was before they had a wild card, so it was literally like NLDS, or like they didn't have the wild card games.
Okay.
It was only 4 teams making it for each league, so you'd have like your division winners and then whoever the best team outside of the divisions was record-wise. And yeah, because we made it we made that jump pretty quick. Like we lost that year and then won the World Series the next year, made the World Series again, and then just like after 2008 went one step back each year, and then until it was just over. So
that was disappointing.
I know. All right.
But with that being said, let's get into our NFC AFC West previews.
Yes, which is why we're rocking the Larry Fitz, because of course we are.
Love the Larry Fitz. My very first Pitt football game when I was a freshman was actually Larry Fitz's jersey retirement at Pitt.
Ooh, that was probably awesome.
Great ceremony. The game, on the other hand, not so great, especially because we played Jameis Winston and Florida State.
Oh no.
Lost 35-7. So there's that.
Sorry, I just opened Facebook for no reason, and the first post is Phillies release new City Connect jerseys, and then a picture underneath, and it says God 4.8 earthquake. Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Earthquake, by the way, because I didn't.
Yeah, I did. I literally had just woken up, and I was in my bed, and I was like actually shaking, and I was like, oh my God. I just woke up, so I could actually be hallucinating. Let's refer to the internet. And then I was like, oh, no, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, it was funny. Like, my wife texted me and was like, I think we just had an earthquake because the whole building shook. I was like, an earthquake? I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
And then I got like 10 texts from all different people saying like, holy shit, earthquake. I'm like, am I losing my mind that I didn't feel it?
It just depends. Like, honestly, it literally depended on like where you were. And I think because you're like northwest of me, you wouldn't have felt it as much as like us right by like the Delaware River, everything. It was literally like, but there was a clip from MLB Network. Mm-hmm. They were doing like their in studio thing, and they're in New York.
Oh yeah,
and they're like in their chairs, literally like, I was like, yeah, they had fun.
Yeah, that was nuts.
All right, so I was gonna start.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So we're gonna start NFC.
All right. I'm
just gonna go in the order I had on here. I think I went Arizona first.
Okay.
I wrote down. I did my notebook again because I'm like, I'm just gonna use this because it'll kind of get it in my head.
Right.
We'll paraphrase it. Obviously, we're not gonna go through everything. Yeah. Because that would be like a full 2.5 hour podcast. Right. For like future divisions where it's maybe more important to actually discuss the projections, maybe we'll go in more depth, because this one we already agreed we're starting with the West because they're pretty cut and dry. Right. So for the Cardinals, the main things I wrote, like, we'll just look. You got Kyler Murray starting at QB, James Conner starting at running back, and I like him a lot. I'm very high on James Conner if he stays healthy. He is an absolute yards after contact monster. But then you get to receiver, and it becomes very clear why every single mock draft on Earth is telling you they're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr., because their number one right now is Chris Moore, who they just signed. Because they traded Rondale Moore for Desmond Ridder to be their backup QB, and then obviously traded Marquise Brown, or released, however that went down. So it's very clear what they're doing. That's fine. Zach Ertz is gone too, so tight end's a little like, because they have Trey McBride, and I like him, but
McBride's really good.
Exactly. Yeah. It's after him that they should be like, if McBride gets hurt, they are shocked.
Yeah. Probably why they have 5 tight ends at the moment.
And then their O-line ranked 28th last year, and they took a good step. They drafted Paris Johnson Jr. He looks pretty good, but it's a 5-man front. One dude's not going to save you, but it is very good for them that he's at right tackle. So if they can get a left tackle that's actually really solid, they can improve on that. And Kyler ranked. I wrote down Kyler's QB rank too, just because I was like, I'm curious. He ranked 23rd, which is actually not that bad, all things considered.
True.
He should be so much worse than that. in my opinion. Like, so that's a little. I look at that. Okay, he's got some hope because he has a cannon for an arm. It's just a matter of letting him use it. But his mobility as a weapon is also obviously something teams have to prepare for every week. Defensively, Jesus Christ. Their overall defense ranked 30th, and their D-line literally ranked dead last at 32nd.
According to PFF, their defense, overall defense, the team grade they gave him was 32nd.
Yeah, and I can't disagree with it because the individual groups were all so like graded so bad. It's like holy crap. But I just want to
say they allowed the second most points with 455.
Yikes. I wrote down like years of improvement needed. Like, this is not one of those where, you can go into a draft and it'll be instant. Like, this is like years and years of hitting on your picks. And they just usually don't. So,
right.
And then, like, losses-wise, obviously you had Rondell Moore, Hollywood Brown, Ezekiel Turner at linebacker, and they lost a defensive lineman. And I just put their projected record at, like, 4-13 to 6-11 as the ceiling, because it's like, you're going to lose 2 to the Niners, you're going to lose 2 to the Rams. You probably lose 2 to the Seahawks. So there's 6 losses right there just within your division. Like, I don't see, like, how you get better there.
I will say the only things right now they have going for them, they have the sixth most cap space with 29 mil. And they have 11 total draft picks in this draft.
Okay, that's a shit ton. Like, that will help them. But I even look at the cap space, I'm like, no one wants to play there.
No.
Because they know you're not winning. So the cap space is going to stay that. And you're probably going to end up using it on, like, a good chunk of that will go to Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
Because he'll be a 4th overall pick. So he'll get paid.
A good chunk of that will go to all 11 draft picks.
Yeah. So, but it's, you know what I mean? You have to think about that, and it's like, it's not a great start.
Right.
But, like, we can move on from the Cardinals right into the Rams, because I think the Rams are a lot more interesting. The Cardinals was literally just like a quick, let's get in and out, because we know we know exactly what they are. And it's, they need to do some work.
Yep.
But, all right, going into the Rams, much better team, just right off the bat. I mean, top to bottom, much better team. You have Matt Stafford, who ranked 9th last year, and he's not young anymore, but the dude's still, 9th in this league with who we have now. I mean, literally love that guy. Kyron Williams, super young running back. You still don't know exactly what you're going to get from him, but the potential is very evident. And then at receiver, they are just like, they're so happy. So you got Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell. That is a solid quad. Very solid quad. And Stafford can make you a better player just by existing on the same field. Like, they actually signed Jimmy Garoppolo as a backup. So even you know what I mean? Even if Stafford gets hurt, Garoppolo doesn't suck.
Yeah, because Stetson Bennett was hurt all last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, he's there. He'll learn. I think he's a career backup, to be honest. I don't think anybody would debate that either.
He's already 26, so.
Yeah, he's the oldest, like, rookie besides, what was his, Brandon Weeden?
Yeah.
The Browns drafted him.
I will just say real quick, according to PFF, Stafford, they graded him 5th of the 38 quarterbacks that played.
Nice.
With a 88.2 offensive grade and an 86.0 passing grade. And then Puka was ranked 8th of 128 wide receivers with a 90.2 offensive grade. Cooper Kupp was
Oof.
46th. Tutu was 57th. Demarcus Robinson was 51st. And
Yeah.
then
But think
Kyron
about that,
Williams.
right? How nuts is that? That's
Yeah,
your 3 and 4 are also in the top 60.
exactly.
Like,
And Cooper Kupp was only listed 46th because he missed some of the season and
yeah.
he was like still kind of getting back to speed.
But when he came back, it was so obvious he's still the guy.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
he is still that man.
And Cooper Kupp, they ranked 10th of 59 running backs with a 90.5 run grade.
Yeah, because he's a beast. But it's just that it's one of those, like, I want to see it again.
Right. Right.
That's the biggest thing. Repeat the performance or improve on it, and we'll be like, I will immediately be high on you. Because there are a lot of guys that have a 1 year flash and then kind of just vanish. His physique and his athleticism, though, I think is why it's like he'll still be good for a while.
I agree.
Their O line, I was using Pro Football Network because I don't feel like paying for PFF, as we discussed. Their O line on there ranked 12th, which that's solid.
Very solid.
That's play. I mean, if we're going by just there's 12 teams that make the playoffs, right?
Yep.
Or 14. It's 14 now. So you were in a you had a playoff level O line and QB and receivers and running back. So like offensively, you're like sweet, and you still have Tyler Higbee. So the chemistry's there. If you want to talk about their defense for like a minute, I'm gonna go use the bathroom.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of things that I like about their defense. They still do have some high-ranked players. However, the thing I like the most is the addition of Cam Curl. The Rams, or sorry, PFF ranked all of the free agents, and Cam Curl was the 22nd ranked free agent this past offseason. And adding him to a defense that already, I wouldn't say the defense was amazing, but the defense did produce enough to propel this team to some wins. I mean, you have Kobe Turner on the inside, who was 10th ranked, according to PFF. Ernest Jones as a linebacker was ranked 13th. He graded out to be an 86.2 for run D and 83.1 for the pass rush. His coverage could use a bit of work. So Ernest Jones, but at the same time, Ernest Jones is only 24. So still have plenty of room to grow in that regard. Darius Williams at corner had a good year. He was ranked 13th out of 127 corners. The defensive back area was probably the biggest need to improve, because you got people like Darian Kendrick, Kobe Durant, Quentin Lake. Quentin Lake had a decent season, but Kendrick and Durant both had subpar seasons. They're just barely in the top 100 of last season. So the fact they added Cam Curl to also go along with that is going to go pay big dividends, especially because when you look at their safeties, Jason Taylor II, I mean, he didn't really play all that much, didn't do all that much. Russ Yeast, he ranked 81st out of 95 safeties, so not really going to be anything to write home about. But the big issue, obviously, that everyone is going to talk about with the Rams defense is the fact that Aaron Donald retired. So that's going to be the big thing that everyone's going to talk about. However, like I touched on, Kobe Turner in the inside was ranked 10th of 130 inside defensive linemen with an 81.2 pass rush grade, 83.2 defensive grade overall. However, his run defense and coverage, those both have been a little subpar. They're down in like 68, 62 region. Bobby Brown III, though, also ranked pretty high. He's in the top 30, grading out to be about a 72 overall, but could still improve on rush and pass D. So I like at least the Cam Curl signing, but there needs to be a little bit more attention to the defense, especially in the defensive back situation. So
I think the draft is 100%. Like, they have to address that.
oh yeah, and that's another thing with them. Just like the Cardinals, they also have 11 picks. However, The Cardinals were more pick heavy in the day 1 and day 2, whereas the Rams have 7 day 3 picks out of those 11 picks.
Okay.
So
So
what I some bargain bin shopping.
Yeah, what I wrote for the Rams, I just wrote at the top, Rams D-line ranked 22nd on where I looked, and it said, Aaron Donald has now retired. Absolute disaster. And like, because it's like you literally had one of the top 5 defensive players in the history of football.
Right.
Like, that's just how good he was. And I think it, even in 30 years, I don't think anybody will say any different. Like, you don't come in the league and be that good immediately and stay that good the whole time.
Right.
That does not happen.
And on top of that, he made the whole defense better because if you have to triple team one defensive lineman, the rest of the defensive linemen are getting one-on-ones.
But then you look at that too. It's like they had to triple team him. Triple.
Yes. And he still got sacks.
Yeah. You'd see guys get doubled and kind of like stop. And you're like, okay, double team worked. You'd see Aaron Donald get triple teamed. So you have 2 guards in the center on him.
Right.
And he was still elusive and strong enough to just be like, move.
Yeah.
Like, he's not human. He needs to be studied.
Seriously.
Like, immediately. Like, there's obvious work for the Rams if they want to compete in this division, which I think they're the only team that can have a shot to compete with San Francisco. It's all going to be on defense. You have to be able to allow your offense to score what they can score and just hold the other team to a score that's not unattainable. Because there's obviously potential for that. So, but that's for them. I think they if there's the right interior D lineman available when they're picking, I think that's the obvious choice to just immediately try and fill that gap. But edge wouldn't hurt either. Just anything to make a quarterback move and
I think
throw.
if they use their day 1 pick on defensive lineman and then a day 2 pick, at least one day 2 pick on like a cornerback, I think you start to be golden.
Yeah, because that's just the correct direction.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into Seattle.
Seattle's the one to me that's the most interesting because it could go one of 2 ways very quickly.
So this one, I think the downhill is here.
Okay.
Because the amount of like good players that they lost is like. So I'll just start with the transactions. The lost, like the people that are no longer on Seattle, and this may have even increased since I wrote this.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal Adams, Nick Bellore, Quandre Diggs, Will Dissly, Bobby Wagner, Drew Lock, and DJ Dallas. So you lost a running back, your backup QB, your starting linebacker, your starting corner, your starting tight end, and one of your starting safeties.
And a couple more that I see on PFF, unless this is old. No, because you said Drew Lock. So Damian Lewis, their guard.
Yep.
And did you say Jordan Brooks?
I did not.
Jordan Brooks. So yeah, Jordan Brooks. Because I wanted to point him out because him and Bobby Wagner on PFF were both ranked in the top 60 for free agents when they ranked the whole free agent list for this offseason. So,
but that's what I mean. Like
they're linebackers.
Their O-line ranked literally 26th.
Yikes.
Yeah. So that's, but then I look at the flip side too. It's like even with that, Geno on where I looked was 13th, and then DK was 20th. So like they could still make some noise, and obviously with Lockett as well. Like they have, and the rookie Smith and Jigba, like they have weapons. It's a matter of Kenneth Walker III staying healthy, though. Like that's to round out the offense.
And that's like I'm looking at some of the grades again on PFF, and on here, Geno ranked 14th. Smith and Jigba was 75th, but that's just because he's still kind of like getting his legs in terms of like being a number 3. And then DK 19th, Tyler Lockett 24th, Kenneth Walker 6th. Even Charbonnet was 37th. So being in the top, like right in the middle, is not terrible as a backup. Pharaoh Brown actually got ranked 12th, even though Noah Fant is obviously the higher up in the depth chart. And some of their offensive linemen, like you said, they weren't getting good grades. I mean, the best overall grade that one of their offensive linemen got was Charles Cross, who was a 67.6.
Yeah.
So,
and he was a rookie, I think.
Yeah, I think he was.
So that's not bad, considering first year in the league.
Pick number 9 overall in 2022.
Yeah, like you want more from him though.
Right.
You need more from him for the rating or for like where he was taken. You need more.
Sure.
And then defensively, obviously, like they lost so many guys, and they were like heart and soul guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just like, oh, it's just some guy. It's like it was Quandre Diggs, who's been there since he was drafted, good player. Jamal Adams has been there long enough now that like you wanted more out of him because they traded a lot, but
yeah,
their coordinators were just not too good either. So I think that's kind of keying into it. But yeah, defensive rankings were just ugly from what I saw. Just, I mean, 25 or lower for kind of everything as like overall grades. But
I will give them a like silver lining of Witherspoon. Very good cornerback.
Yeah.
Woolen, I really liked him as well.
Yep.
Trey Brown was solid. Nothing like, amazing, but solid. Julian Love, very good. They added Tyrell Dodson, who, according to PFF, they graded him on an overall defense grade first out of 82 linebackers, which is a surprising grade to me. However, his pass rush grade was a 72, which ranked 21st out of 63. His coverage grade was actually 3rd out of 77. And his run defense grade was 9th out of 84.
Okay, so he puts in the work everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's a good so they have cornerstones. It's just a matter of rounding it out because their D-line was like awful.
Oh, kind of breaking news. I just got an update from Fantasy Baseball.
Yep.
Shane Bieber is out for the rest of the season.
Oh boy. There goes the Guardians.
Yep.
There they go.
So.
Oh boy, that's ass.
I think he was on my fantasy team.
I'm checking mine now. You said that out loud.
That isn't great.
Oh
wait, no, we're good. He is not on my fantasy team.
That really sucks.
Cleveland big time.
Let's see.
But yeah, a little breaking news there.
that is fully breaking news. Oh boy.
But while you check your fantasy team, I will say they also added Leonard Williams.
Good player.
He was on the Rams, right? If I remember.
Last destination I think was probably the Rams. Yeah. Because he started with the Jets.
Right.
Good old USC boy.
Yep.
Kind of okay. So he was supposed to be like he got drafted pretty high. Supposed to be like incredible.
Yeah, he was drafted 6th overall.
Didn't perform with the Jets because they're the Jets. I think the Rams are a good fit for him. It's just they need the interior to be strong again so he can actually do work on the outside.
For sure. But I mean, every season he hasn't graded less than 70. So like he's very solid throughout.
Yeah, he's consistent. Like he's a good player. Like it is a good signing.
And his pass rush is very nice. Like his run defense isn't terrible, but his pass rush is where he excels the most.
Yeah,
so
that's what he was brought in for.
Yeah,
100%. they signed. This one makes me laugh. It's like they brought in Jonathan Hankins. He's 31, so you're like, okay, he'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be fine. As a good vet, so if you draft a rookie, if you draft anybody else, like he will 100. He's the mentor. Hankins has been around a long time.
I just want to make a correction. Leonard Williams was actually on the Giants.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because he played for both New York teams. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
So let's see. I'm just looking at like the additions screen. They signed Kayvon Wallace, who for the Eagles was a bust and a half. So like we'll see if he can be a bit better somewhere else. That'll be a safety. He's going to be special teamer. I'm calling that now.
Probably.
Calling that right now. He's just not like even on the safeties depth chart. I think they had him second. So maybe he will get some playing time, but we need to just let that play out.
I actually see the Seahawks special teams was tied for second last
year. Yeah, their special teams was really, 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 really good.
However, they did lose their returner.
Yeah, so
I wonder who replaces DJ Dallas.
Toodaloo. That's a fair question. Like they signed Laviska Shenault.
Mm-hmm.
He could slot in there. He's durable, size. You know what I mean? That would fit. But I think they want a speedster. I think you always want a speed guy.
True.
The Niners is going to be quick because I have to leave at like 12:20.
Okay.
So we got like 30 minutes.
I mean, we can move on to them right now.
Yeah, the Niners will just breeze through. Like they are the clear favorite in that division. They are going to be a top 3 NFC team, if not ranked number 1 going into the season. I mean, all across the board, their players ranked high, their position groups ranked high. I'm just going to read. I did write. So San Francisco D-line ranked second last season, but lost key players in Eric Armstead, Chase Young, Sebastian Joseph Day, and like Javon Kinlaw, Warren Burks at linebacker. Dre Greenlaw is going to be out with an injury for at least some of the season, and then Cleveland Farrell. So like defensively on that D-line, like that's a lot of bodies to lose,
right?
And try to replace in like short order. But then you look at who they do have, and you're like, okay, they're probably still okay. Like you have Nick Bosa, top 3. Yetur Gross-Matos. They bring in Leonard Floyd. In the middle, you got Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave, and Jordan Elliott. And then I for linebacker, I put Fred Warner and just put in parentheses GOAT.
Yeah,
that dude is so good. It's like it's not okay.
Insane.
They bring in Zeke Turner to fill in for Dre Greenlaw, who's obviously going to miss time, as we just said, at linebacker. So, like, they've made moves to kind of address what needs to be addressed, and obviously the draft and everything. They've done well for years now. Like, they will find people.
So they brought in Leonard Floyd.
Yeah. From Chicago.
Yeah. Who will be decent. He's 31, so... You know.
But I look at the defensive scheme and I'm like, his numbers will be better here.
Yeah.
Like
the Niners also have 10 picks. They have 1 day 1, 2 day 2, and 7 day 3. So they'll be able to address some things. And obviously their biggest needs. So one of the websites I actually looked at, we know their biggest needs are edge and their secondary. Because like you said, they lost a lot of people on the defensive side of the ball. They lost like with Chase Young, Randy Gregory, and Farrell. That was
that was the one name I didn't write. Was Randy Gregory. Yeah.
And that was their numbers 2, 3, and 4 most productive edge rushers in terms of total pressures and sacks.
Yeah.
Number 1 being obviously Nick Bosa.
Yeah. That's so much talent to lose.
Yeah. So, I mean, they got Miller, sure, but now you got to address some of that in the draft. Another one is wide receiver because Brandon Ayuk obviously isn't happy.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have the money to be able to pay Debo, Ayuk, and then pay
McCaffrey? Purdy.
Purdy. You're not going to have the money to pay all of them once Purdy's contract is ready to be extended.
Yeah.
So probably should draft a wide receiver at some point to see if it works out. And then, the secondary, because Gibson, free agent, Hufanga recovering from ACL injury. They lost the backup Logan Ryan. And so according to this site, Fantasy Life, this is the 8th cheapest group of safeties in terms of current 2024 financial money.
Okay.
So probably should throw in some secondary help in there too. But with all that being said, they were the number 1 offense and number 2 defense last year.
Yep.
So
and I mean, but it is going to look different, and I'm sure they know that. We know that. I just wrote a full thing here. I just said the obvious winners of the NFC West are the San Francisco 49ers, with second place a toss-up between the Rams and Seahawks. And next to Seahawks, I put depending on injuries and draft success. Cardinals have years of rebuilding before becoming truly competitive. Kyler will receive help from the draft, but even if that isn't if even that isn't enough for him to shine, his time will be up. Matt Stafford continues to be elite with a very solid receiving core around him. They need O-line and defense. The Seahawks have a solid offense, but severely lacking on defense. The draft needs to give them solid players. They can be impactful rookies. Hopeful for some surprises in this division, but expecting a specific outcome.
Agreed. I think if I was forced to guess, I would probably put it just Niners, Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I had to, because it's just based on what they have right now and what we've seen in recent years and just trends and whatever. That's just what it looks like, and I don't think I don't see that changing. But injuries happen. Like if Purdy gets hurt, everything changes. Absolutely immediately, because it's great, right? That okay, so let me just remind myself. Yeah, their backup is Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
Loved what he was able to do last year, bouncing around and playing well for some teams, but you're not gonna win that division with him, I don't think.
I agree.
So, all right.
So with that being said, do you want to
AFC time?
AFC West.
Yeah.
All
right. I can close one of the full browser things. Hooray! Goodbye.
I will just say we could start with who I think is obviously going to be last.
And that would be the Denver Broncos.
I mean, they don't have...
Yes, sir. No, I had so much fun writing down their depth chart.
Yeah.
Because I was just literally like, who the fuck are all of these people?
When I look at their roster, the only 2 names that, jump off the page... I don't even want to say jump off the page. Well, Pat Surtain jumps off the page. He's the only one that jumps off the page to me. Outside of him, I like Sutton. He's decent. I think Marvin Mims could be decent.
They signed Josh Reynolds,
right?
Which is but it's literally they just have a wide receiver room of this,
right?
There's not, and to think about it too, it's okay, so you released Russell Wilson. You just doomed your cap for this year and probably the year after that.
Oh, for sure.
So that's fucked. Then you're we have a number 1 receiver on a depth chart in Jerry Jeudy, but because we suck at everything, we'll trade him. Tight end, they're actually okay. I like Trotman. I like Dulcich as a duo. They can that. Don't get a tight end. You'll be fine on that. Their O-line was actually not... I don't think it was that catastrophic. I don't know if you can confirm that. I actually think they were, okay.
I can check.
But, obviously, in that division, you need a hell of a lot better than just okay at every position group. And then, Loss-wise, obviously, they lost Justin Simmons and their starting center, Lloyd Cushenberry. So,
Love that name. All-time name.
The best.
Yeah, looking at their offensive line, some of these guys, they got pretty high grades. I mean, Ben Powers, I knew from Baltimore. He was always solid. He ranked 30th of 79. Quinn Mainers, the guard, he ranked 3rd of 79. He had an 83.7 grade.
But that's why it's like they're this weird team, right? That if they draft the right rookie QB, and they bring in wide receivers, then they're like instantly a lot like so much better. Like the leap would be like Houston's, like if they coach it right. But I don't like Sean Payton, so I don't think they will.
I used to like him, but anymore I feel like he's one of those crotchety old guys that like.
Well, but I even look back too. There were scandals in New Orleans multiple times, and Drew Brees absolutely carried his ass. I'm sorry.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like it's one of those situations. So I
will just say McGlinchey, not that bad. 39th of 81 as a tackle. Garrett Bowles, 19th of 81 as a tackle as well. So
yeah. So they have a solid O-line, which is like, as far as offense, like that's where you start.
Right.
100%.
Portland Sutton was actually a very good producer last year.
Yeah. He's a beast. It's just feeding the beast, and they have not been able to do that. Defensively,
games last year.
Defensively, I'll literally just say they ranked like 31st.
I mean, after that Dolphins game,
yeah, and then you release Justin Simmons, who was like one of your best players, and then Patrick Surtain is on the trade block, and everybody knows it, and he's like top 5 CBs in the entire NFL. So it's like if he's gone, you were already like the worst, and now you're about to just solidify that.
Yeah, a lot of the things I looked at, the Denver's biggest needs. Obviously, we know quarterback. That's probably going to be their first round pick.
Yeah,
and then defensive line and cornerback. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
It sucks that did they re-sign PJ Locke or did he leave?
I can tell you in a sec. Hold on.
Because PJ Locke was a decent, like, not saying he's amazing, but he was something. Actually, I could see what he got graded wise too, because I didn't think he was that bad.
They re-signed him.
Okay, he was ranked 60th of 95 last year. I thought he was better than that, but.
No, their whole defense was just so bad. Like I don't think it could be helped. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
All right. Is it Chargers time?
Yep.
This is one I was actually like really looking forward to, because, God, I don't remember in my life a team moving this many fucking people.
Especially one that like didn't. I feel like they didn't need an overhaul. They just needed a few pieces in different places.
Well, they got caught in a cap disaster.
True.
And it literally, like, this is what happens. They had guys signed to contracts that told the world we're trying to win right now, and they didn't win. And well, I mean, because I'm like looking at their depth chart on here, they have 4 wide receivers on the roster. Like the only one they have a player 2 is at left receiver. Like, for slot and the guy lying up on the right, there's no backup right now. Like,
all I'm seeing is Keelan Doss, Darius Davis, Quentin Johnston, and Josh Palmer.
Yep. that ain't good. But like, tight end, they bring in Disley and Hayden Hurst. True. So they're like tight end, they're deep as shit, which, like, good for them, because that's a team I think of synonymous with tight ends.
And they still have Donald Parham, who wasn't terrible.
No, but I look at them too. I'm like, if I close my eyes and go, what teams do I think of that were like goated for tight ends? It's like you had Kellen Winslow Sr.
Yep.
And then Antonio Gates. So, and then what was his face? Hunter Henry was good for them for 2 years, and then he went to the hellhole that is New England.
And Jared Cook was on there for a while.
Yeah, but they're all like you know, if you say their names in football, people know exactly who they are, and they're, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They signed Gus Edwards because they obviously got rid of Austin Eckler.
Yep.
But to just sit here and be like, you had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, and now you don't have either one of them. And so, like, you're picking fifth. We know exactly what the hell you're doing because you're not going to waste Justin Herbert.
Exactly.
You're not going to do it. So,
and there's no running backs worth a number 5 pick this year. So.
Fuck no. Like, I think they'd be happier with Gus Edwards, Isaiah Spiller as a duo, and build the receiver room back up. 100%. So, but literally to just have to write on this as notes: massive losses on offense, wide receiver 1 and 2, and RB1 and tight end 1. Like, yikes.
And I mean, the Chargers defense was ranked 20th.
Yeah.
So like now you have a huge hole on offense, obviously, with like no wide receivers, but now you got to fill out the defense too.
Yeah, it's just like there's so much work to be done in a division where I think they're going to be in big trouble because the Raiders have been moving in the right direction now.
Right.
So, like, the window for the Chargers to be the Chiefs' #1 competitor, I think, is escaping them.
Yeah.
And the truth is like if this draft could catch them up like immediately if they get the right guys, like if the right #1 receiver comes in. But that's such a coin flip. I'm gonna have my headphones off for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers are obviously going to be a big, like, let's see what happens type of team, because now with Harbaugh taking over, they're obviously going a completely different direction than they've been. He's a big, like, run first type of guy, a big hard-nosed defense, run first. So they're gonna probably make a lot of moves in terms of the draft and still have a long ways to go. Edwards is a very Harbaugh-ish type of running back, so that's a good start for them. But there's still plenty of movement to be seen with the Chargers. And it's funny because we both said how the Broncos were obviously going to be last. However, the Chargers, depending on what exactly they do, could be pretty bad. And like you brought up the Raiders, I actually like how the Raiders are looking right now. And as long as they bring in a solid quarterback, which they're most likely going to draft, they still have Devontae Adams. They have they still have Michael Mayer, who they had through the draft last year. Harrison Bryant comes in as a backup, who isn't terrible. Gardner Minshew signed as a backup. Aiden O'Connell was okay. You have Zamir White. You couldn't bring back Jacobs. So you have Alexander Madison now sharing time with Zamir White, which isn't the worst. And now your D-line has Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins. Like, honestly, I don't want to go up against the Raiders D-line at all as an opposing team. Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, Tyree Wilson, and I mean, Malcolm Kuntz is decent, but like going up against them for an entire game, Max Crosby was already wreaking havoc and everything. So throwing Christian Wilkins in the mix is crazy. Along with, I like Spillane, I like Diablo. Jack Jones is going to probably be serviceable. So the rest of it is really just the defensive, the secondary. So, and that's another thing that can probably be addressed when it comes to the draft. They
Agreed.
have I forget how many picks they have, but yeah, like a lot of the things I've been seeing as the top needs for the Raiders are offensive line and cornerback. It used to be interior defensive line until they signed Christian Wilkins, but those are the big needs. There is just offensive line and quarterback, and you have
okay.
they have their 13th overall pick, which is obviously going to be a quarterback. And then they still have a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, sixth, and 3 7s.
So, just because to retort, a lot of predictions are if, say, Bo Nix is not there, they'll wait till the second to draft Penix because a bunch of people think Penix is going to still be around in the second.
Okay.
And that way you could get one of the higher tier like D-line, O-line, CBs in that with that like 12 slot or I think it's 12th, right?
Yeah.
Which for them might be the way to go. Defense maybe because their official head coach, Mr. Pierce, obviously was a Super Bowl winning linebacker, is all about a like rough tough defense. So that is an option. And I wouldn't put it past them.
I agree. And then we can finish up with the Chiefs. I mean, we know the Chiefs are going to be good.
The Chiefs' number one thing, right, is the Rashee Rice situation.
Yep.
They brought in Hollywood Brown.
Yep.
But after those two, like receiver-wise, it is just like an abyss of unknown. Because we don't like even Mecole Hardman coming back and catching the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. He's a number 3 on like every roster. Like that's what he is. Kadarius Toney sucks. Sky Moore sucks. Justin Watson, don't know if I even saw him. Like that's tight end. They have the greatest tight end in the history of football, in my opinion. We know that.
Noah Gray's a solid backup, and they brought in Irv Smith.
Yeah, so like tight end, they are so solid it's obnoxious. Right. They have a new backup quarterback in Carson Wentz. So
still have Pacheco. They re-signed Edwards-Helaire. The defense
did they officially re-sign Edwards-Helaire?
I believe so. Yeah, a 1-year deal.
Okay.
I think it's 1 year. I forget how much, but I remember seeing it was a 1-year deal.
Yep. Okay. This the depth chart updated.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, I mean, like the only free agent like things to really talk about is like they lost Valdez-Scantling and like you said Hardman.
And they don't care because they don't like. It's so strange to me that wide receiver of all things is like their least valued position.
Right.
But it just is. Like this isn't the days of like Dwayne Bowe where they were willing to like have a number 1 guy for those few years that they were paying.
Yep.
Like this is not something they care about at all. They're like, we'll bring in whoever because Patrick Mahomes will succeed with whoever, and he clearly has. So
I think the biggest question mark is I just want to see what they look like without Snead. Like, because now the cornerbacks are essentially like Jalen Watson, Trent McDuffie, Joshua Williams, and then the backups after that. So I just want to see what they look like without Snead now. I mean, they're probably still going to be solid. The offense is still going to be fine.
It's Steve Spagnuolo. Like they will be fine, and they know they'll be fine.
And they still have 5 draft picks to work with. Like,
it's not a million, but they can get some people.
Right. They can get a receiver. They can get like an offensive lineman. Probably even add like either a defensive lineman or a linebacker. You're fine.
My little division assessment I wrote, I just said the Chiefs are far and away the best and most complete team in the division. The only team that could step up and compete with them is the Raiders if they draft the correct QB and offensive accompaniment.
Yep.
For now, the Chargers need a lot of help, and the Broncos are a total dumpster fire. Because I just, like, the Raiders are in a really good spot. They just have to make the right moves, like, right now.
Yep.
Because defensively, they are fucking scary.
Seriously. And you still got Devontae Adams.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like if you get the right QB, you have the best receiver on planet Earth.
Right.
He's been in a cocoon kind of reevaluating and re-evolving because we've seen what this dude is. It's like he is Justin Jefferson before Justin Jefferson.
Exactly.
Period. Like he is Yeah, he's such a he's nuts.
Yeah.
And you look back at that 14 class and you're like, I think we know who our number one is. Because that one was Sammy, OBJ, oh my God, what was Jarvis Landry? Is that his name?
Oh yeah.
OBJ's roommate. And then obviously Devontae. And Devontae was like the latest pick of all of them.
Yeah.
Because Green Bay doesn't pick receivers early.
True.
And he somehow sat there. And you look at and you're like, oh, it's because he went to San Diego State. It's like,
and then you give him Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, and you send him to the Raiders, and you're like, oh, he actually just is that good.
Yeah,
got it. I'm gonna let you wrap up.
Yep,
I'll just say this was cool, and everybody that watched, expect each time it'll have a theme. So we'll do. Let's do the South divisions next, and then we'll figure out if we want to do East or North after that. Because obviously, I'm trying to save our teams for last.
Right.
But yeah, it'll be a fun little thing leading up to the draft for everybody. So thank you for watching, and I will catch you next week from my iPad camera, probably.
All right, sounds good to me.
Sweet.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Peace.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Hopefully, you guys hit the subscribe below, hit the bell for notifications, let you know when you go live. It is on the Fishy Business Media channel. That's where you'll find all of our videos, and we will have the audio versions of Sideline Specialists up soon. We'll be on everywhere you get your podcast, so make sure you look out for that as well. We appreciate all of you listening, and we will catch you guys next time. Peace.